Welcome everyone to Cultivators Goal Setting Workshop. My name is Melissa Pele and I'm your Community Manager for Cultivators, hosted by Cultivate. At Cultivate, for those who don't know, we partner with department leads to amplify energy and ideas through empowering learning design and community building. We started the Cultivator community to create a space for explorers and action takers like yourself to connect and support each other through your change initiatives. I'm excited to introduce our workshop lead for today, Molly Shelley, our manager, our marketing and communications lead. Sorry, I get so excited talking about her that I confuse her because we work a lot together. Molly is a proud jack of all trades, master of none, and constantly learning new ways to reach people. She spent her career in startups and tech, most recently with Eventbrite. So Molly, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Melissa. Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I coerced 15 of you to come to this workshop. Mostly 13 because I'm on here and Melissa's on here, but that's still great. I'm laughing because my mom also has an event going on and we were like in a war over getting lamps to light our setting here. So I think I won though. I have a pretty good setup. Thank you so much for coming and I'm excited to get started. We have a couple of exercises we're going to dive into, so I'll get started right away, but I wanted to just remind you, in case you're not sure why you're here, which is totally okay, what this workshop's all about. And it's really simple. We're going to basically just identify what changes you'd like to see in your work experience, at your workplace, in your organization. And this is totally relevant even if you work for yourself or if you work for a large organization or a small organization. So don't worry about where you come from because it's going to be applicable no matter what. I want to share a couple of tidbits before we get started about like how you can engage in this workshop. However you want, really. There are no rules here. If you want to go video off, if you want to go video on, if you want to toggle between the two, we are here together in this like community space, but really this workshop is about you and the individual work you do in these exercises that I'm going to walk you through in a minute. Because changes that we want to make in our organization are like very personal to us, right? And we don't really have the time or the context of your personal situation to truly understand like what are the things you want to change about your work, your experience at work. So take your shoes off, chill on your bed, on your couch, wherever you want to be. And this hopefully doesn't feel like work, but thanks for joining us. Make sure you have a notebook and pen or just use your laptop notes just to get yourself situated, and we'll get this show on the road. So I wanted to start with a couple of stories first, which is like supporting the whole reason why we're putting on this workshop, right? Like, why is it important to like tune into that part of yourself that wants to make change in your organization? And these three narratives I faced within one single week, which shows just how common it is to feel like there's something missing in your experience at work, or you don't feel empowered to show up fully at work, or you want to change something that's happening. So the first is this random internet man I met on Facebook Marketplace when I was selling my computer monitor last week. And he was like, I was like, why are you buying my monitor? I don't know why I asked him that. I just try to connect with random humans all the time. And he was like, I left my monitor in the back of my truck. It got poured on and I don't feel like asking my boss for a new one. And I was like, oh my God, that sucks. And to me, like, of course, I'm assuming his issue, right? I'm assuming like what he might want to change about his organization. But if I'm assuming it, I would say, you know, maybe he wishes he could admit mistakes to his boss more easily, or maybe he wishes he could just be more real with his boss. That's something I feel like I would feel in that situation. Also, my little sister, she called me the next day and we were talking about work, and she had just recently got promoted to this HR position. And she was like, she felt kind of like she got thrown under the bus, which I think we've all been there as well. And she's like, I feel like if we had more efficient communication about onboarding, I wouldn't have felt that way. And from there, I'm interpreting like, okay, yeah, you wish you had better onboarding processes. Like, I think all of us have been there before too. And then I was thinking about myself, reflecting on some things that I would change about my own organization. And my boss is going to pop on this call pretty soon, so I got to be quick, but no, just kidding. I'm struggling with how I'm receiving feedback by some of my colleagues, right? Like I'm not sure if it's productive, and I'm not sure if I'm able to like work at my like highest ability in terms of how feedback is given at my workplace. So in that case, it's like, I wish my team would give me feedback differently, or I wish I could receive feedback differently. And so I just wanted to start with those stories because it's just so real. Like, this is such a thing. And if any of this even resonates with you, just put a +1 in the chat, because I really I don't know if it's just me, but to me, this happened over the course of like 5 days. And I'm like, I think we've all been there. I think we've all felt like we would want these things to change, because why not? So we're going to begin We're going to begin with a 5-minute activity. Thanks, Jimmy. Good to see you again. And Clemens. And we're going to start with a thing called the list. And this is just where we're going to really expand our mind and get creative with all the things we wish would happen or wish would change in our workshop. I know, Clemens, you love lists. Clemens writes these amazing blog posts that are like a list of 30 XYZ, and he like pumps them out in like 24 hours, which is amazing. And so we're going to take 3 minutes. I'm going to put some music back on. I'm going to set the timer. And you're basically going to start with this prompt, I wish ... and finish the sentence. I put up some examples here that you can use for inspiration, but you don't have to use them at all. You can also steal some of them if you wish that, or if you resonate with them and they make sense to you. And then also think about some questions that Melissa just put in the chat, like what processes aren't working right now for your organization? What should you stop doing? What should you start doing? What's one thing that you always, this is a good one, like what's one thing you always bring home to your partner, your friend, like what do you go home and complain about? Think about those things. So we're going to start with this list. Be as expansive as possible, no limitations, just let your mind wander. I'll throw some music on and we'll check back in here in 3 minutes. All right, start wrapping up your thought. If you're like on rapid fire right now, keep going, but keep an ear out because I'm going to start explaining the next activity. I know, Nick, actually, Melissa and I found this playlist about 2.5 seconds ago. We originally had elevator music playing for these interims and we're like, this is not going to fly. This is not motivating me at all. So yeah, I'll share the playlist with you at the end of this workshop. Okay, so keep writing if you're like on, if you're on fire, keep going. Hopefully that was helpful. Stephanie, thanks for the question. If I did not make that clear, sorry about that. These are work-related goals. These are like workflow-related goals. These are things you want to change in your organization. And they're not even in this sense, they're not even positioned as goals, right? They're more like, what do you wish you want to change about your organization? Really, in this next segment is where we're going to turn one of those things into a goal, and we're going to flesh it out a little bit. So we're going to use this thing called the GROW model, which I don't know about you guys, but whenever I do anything goal related, it's always using that SMART goal framework. And I was like, since we're challenging the status quo here, and that's what we're all about, I was like, we're not going to use that. We're going to use something different. And so I found this GROW model, and it was kind of interesting, and I think it does the job for its purposes for today. So we'll see how it goes, and you can let me know what you think at the end of the workshop. But basically, I want you to take a good look at your list, and we're going to choose one to flesh out using this goal model. And I want you to think of two things while you're picking the one that you use for this model situation. First, it has to be important to you, like really important. And theoretically, all of these things are important to you because you just listed them out. But think about like which ones really feel like at your core, dang, I really wish that I could change this about my workflow, or change this about this process or this meeting or whatever it is. And the second thing is choose one that is within your immediate sphere of influence. And what I mean by that is that it's something that you have impact on because you are an active member or participant in it. So an example of something that's not within your immediate sphere of influence might be something like instilling the 4-day work week at your company, especially if your company's like 1,000 people plus and has been operating under a 5-day work week for like since ever. That's going to be a lot harder to do. It's going to be like a lot more obstacles and stakeholders involved, and it's absolutely possible, and you should definitely keep it on your list if it's on there, but it might not be within your immediate sphere of influence. Whereas in an example of something in your sphere of influence would be like, hey, the core team meeting you go to every single week with the same people and it's run the same way every time. Maybe there's something annoying about that meeting. Maybe there's something that's not very efficient about that meeting. And yes, of course, you can share your goals in the chat if you'd like, Melissa. Thanks for calling that out. So yeah, that would be something that's within your sphere of influence. So choose one of those, and you can kind of peruse there, and I'll like go over what GROW stands for. So the G in GROW is for goal, like what do you want to change? And this is where you can turn your I wish statement into a more of a goal purpose statement. The reality, where are you now? Hey, Bill, oh my God, long time. Where are you now? What are the barriers preventing you from achieving your goal? Options, what could you do? What resources are available to you now? What changes can you make to your own behavior to overcome barriers? That one's really key because sometimes, like, for instance, that feedback example, it's not always possible to change how people give you feedback. Sometimes the change has to happen with yourself. Like I have to change how I receive feedback, right? That's an example of that. And then what will you do? And how can you start making changes or tapping into available resources to achieve that goal? And that's the one I really want you to spend the majority of your time on. So like, we're gonna have 5 minutes to work on this, and you might go through this really quick. So I encourage you to really take the full 5 minutes and really use that will section down at the bottom to kind of fill out your tactical, like, what can I do to make this change happen? So remember that feedback example I've been kind of referencing? I use that as a way to flesh this out so that you have an example that you can follow through or like use as a template. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I'll leave it up here while we play some more cool vibey music. We spend 5 minutes and flesh out your own. Again, you'll see my will statement is really simplified here just for the sake of this presentation, but really spend some time thinking about those tactical line items. All right. All right, guys, I feel like I'm not like totally on with the chat right now, but I see Clemens, Jimmy. Thank you guys for sharing. This is awesome. Okay, cool. I'm gonna put our vibey playlist back on, get into your vibe, into your mojo, and let's goal set. 5 minutes, guys, we'll come back. We have a couple more minutes, but in case it's helpful, I'm just going to put the slide back to the first slide. That kind of defines more of those areas, just in case that's more helpful than the mirrored version, but keep working away. All right, start wrapping up your thoughts a little bit. Continue working though if you're in flow. Before we wrap up, I wanted to share some of my favorite things about going to events or meeting new people, or just, you know, this is an investment of your time, spending 30 minutes here with us, and is coming away with something like tangible, like some new tools, tricks, those two, I guess. And some like different apps or like different, I don't know, tech that I need to know about. I love this girl, Sarah, who she posts this LinkedIn video series called Tech in 10, and she's always sharing productivity hacks. So I wanted to share with you 3 digital tools for goal setting. And I also want you to feel free to share some of your tools, trips, oh my gosh, God, I can't say alliterations today. Tools or whatever apps you use for goal setting, anything related to what we're talking about here. Share that in the chat right now. These are my 3. These are all available, I believe, for both Android and iPhones. Momentum and way of life, those are both great for like simple daily habit making. So like if you want to drink more water, or if you want to meditate more. And then Coach Me is like a little bit more intense. It's got a lot going on, but it's got this community. Oh, cool, Alex. I love that you've used it. I actually haven't used Momentum, but I've used way of life. The Coach.me platform they have access to a community, so you can interact with people on there. They have professional coaches for hire. You can add family members and friends if you want to do a group goal. So that might be better if you like have some of these change goals that are like a little bit bigger and more layered and more complex. So check it out. And yeah, just continue to throw in your tools. Melissa did throw in the links for those digital tool apps in the chat if you want to check them out. And awesome, Jimmy. I'm glad you're stealing the grow model. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, I just want to say, hey, that was cool. You just wrote out a list of things you want to change in your organization. You took one and you used the grow model to flesh it out. Hey, you can repeat that process. You can do that for all the things on your list. And I would say save that list and continue to add to it over time. These things are really important. And whether or not you do anything with them, it's great to have a record of all the things that are on your mind and things that would make your work experience better, especially if one day you're in a position to lead or manage or create a team or create a company. So keep that list handy. And this really, like, what this does is it sets the foundation for you to take action. And that's really what's important. This workshop is all about, like, we're just setting the foundation here. There's nothing you really did today that's going to, like, that means you actually took the step forward and took action on the goal. That happens outside of this workshop, which kind of takes us into this next segment of accountability, right? Because we know that, like, when we're held accountable to things, we tend to do them better, or we get them done faster, or it's just a helpful thing to have. And what I love most about this community, and actually I'm just like so floored by like all the people that are here today. I know some of you are new, but you all come from very different companies, very different roles. I would love for y'all to get to know each other. And I know we didn't really get that opportunity today, but what we're going to do, Melissa's going to throw a form in the chat. And if you wouldn't mind filling it out with your name, your email address, and the goal that you decided to flesh out today, what we're going to do is we're going to pair you up. so that you guys can check in 1 month from January 1st and be like, hey, how are you doing on that goal you fleshed out with that weird workshop lady back in the end of December? And that relationship can go anywhere. Maybe it ends there. Maybe it doesn't move beyond the accountability status, but but maybe it goes beyond that. And I think that's the beauty of these kinds of events where we connect with one another, is you just don't know where that relationship's going to go. So yes, new LinkedIn bio for me, weird workshop lady. Maybe an Instagram bio. I might even bring that into my personal life. So yeah, basically fill out that form if you don't mind. I did want to make one very tiny but important disclaimer. You're going to put your email address in there so that we can intro you, but that email address, unless you've signed up for something Cultivate related or Cultivators related, is not going to be used for anything else besides this pairing. So you're not going to be added to some subscription list. You're not going to be added to something else. It's just, this is just for the accountability, and then we will toss it away. Unless, of course, you want to be connected to Cultivate, which we hope you do, and Cultivators Community, because it's a great place to be. Cool. Thank you, Melissa, for sharing that. I think it's in there. Yes, I see it. Awesome. Okay, little sip of water. Now, to the final finale. I cannot believe I'm on time. This is actually incredible. Thank you for coming. This is a picture of a cute baby koala. Yes, stay hydrated, Melissa. And I'm not just, it's not random that I'm here sharing with you a cute picture of a baby koala. I'm sharing it with you because I kind of have alluded to this whole feedback thing that I've been struggling with at work. And I didn't just make it up for this event. You know, I definitely thought about making up something, but I actually used a real life example. And I really did try and instigate some change in my organization, as small and mighty as it is, by coming up with a different process. So typically what we do is we're in meetings, right? And we're like, we'll jam on stuff and we'll have feedback live or virtual, which is live these days. And I was struggling with that. It was a little bit too intense. It was a little bit too direct. I needed some processing time. So when I had a big project come up, instead of having that live feedback, I created a different process to have that feedback loop happen through Google Sheets, through a different kind of process. And my colleagues were so open to that. And through that openness and them being like, hell yeah, we'll try this. This is new, it's different, but we'll try it. I felt I could be vulnerable with them. So just a quick story to close this all out. I was on a meeting with my colleagues, the two people I'd worked closest with. And I think I just off the cuff said, you know, I'm really starting to hate the word feedback. Like it just gives me the EBGBs. Like, I don't like it. I wish it was something cute, like a baby animal, like a koala. And, you know, whatever, a few days passed, maybe even a week passed. And
I think your sound went off, Molly.
Yes.
Oh, the
that
sound
went off. It was so suspenseful because you said, and then it just cut off, and we were all just like, what just happened?
No. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Stephanie's laughing because she helps me with my storytelling. So she's like, ooh, rough. Anyway, what I was saying is basically they started using koala instead of feedback, and it was like the greatest thing ever. It instilled so much confidence in me as an employee. And this is what it feels like to feel empowered at work. And so I hope my success story inspires you to take whatever you did today and actually instill add action on it. I'm looking at the chat and trying to facilitate this, and it's really not helping my English. And yeah, anyway, now we're at time. Thank you guys so much for coming. I have one more thing I want to share with you before you all hop off. This all boils down to honestly one thing, like us feeling empowered at work to make the changes we want to make in our organization, to speak up, to say, hey, I wish these things were different, to feel like we can challenge the status quo. Cultivate recently launched, or is about to launch in the new year, this free program. I think, did I just send it? I don't know. There we go. This free program, it's an email-based learning program. It's all about empowering yourself and your community. Feel free to sign up if you want more of this jazzy stuff. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. It's so good to see some of your faces. Bill, Stephanie, Jade, Melissa, oh my gosh, all of you. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. Ta-ta.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again next time. Bye.